Hey everybody, it's Morry here from the Morry Method. I would like to welcome those of you who are here now and those of you who will be watching this as a recording, I guess. I almost said podcast. At any rate, the purpose of this call is to thank you all for being here, to share some thoughts, some ideas, and primarily to answer your questions, comments, and concerns. So to that end, I'd like to invite those of you that are out there to write down in the text area, in the chat area, your questions, comments, or concerns, and I'll be happy to answer any and all questions to the best of my ability. Generally speaking, I talk about techniques, my practice, how I do things, how the recordings work, best ways to listen, answering questions about people or from people who have questions, comments, or concerns about the systems, how they're being used, the effects they're getting, how to notice the effects. That's a common one as well. And these calls, I call it a call even though it's YouTube, these calls are here for you. So the more questions I get, the more content I get to share with you. If I don't get a lot of questions, if the questions run out after a short time, then the call runs out after a short time too. But it's my pleasure to be here as long as I'm needed. Just so you know, I've done these calls and they've lasted 5 hours in the past at times, other times 45 minutes or so. It doesn't matter to me. Whatever you want, I'm here for you. So if you just want to say hello, anything like that at all is fine. Keep in mind that because it's YouTube, it will be recorded. And shortly after, I'd say maybe 10, 15 minutes after the call is done, you'll be able to go back and check it out at any time. So if for whatever reason you can't stay for the whole time and you're concerned that I won't answer your question or that you may not hear your answer, just type it in and I promise that I will get to it. I pride myself on never leaving before everybody's question's been answered. And I've got a pretty strong track record, over 10 years of that so far. Of course, not on YouTube. I just started doing the YouTube thing. So at any rate, let's go here. We have Daniel from Florida who loves the product. So thank you very much, Daniel. I appreciate it. I see there's no questions as of yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share a thought that I had today, and hopefully that will give you some time to type out your questions and comments. So, I was driving. And when you drive, you notice all kinds of strange things, especially people who are raging, people who are angry, people who might not be either of those, but they just don't seem to follow the rules of the road and seem to want to inspire you to rage or get angry or get upset. I used to be a very rageful driver many moons ago. I used to get angry. I used to get mad. I used to flip people the bird so often that some people wanted to build a little birdhouse to feed my little birds. They were so active. One thing that I've noticed, though, especially lately, is that words, the power words have, how I felt, when I don't react the way I used to react. I'm noticing a stark difference in who I am and how I behave and how I feel afterwards. For instance, I used to rage. So, say someone is in the passing lane and they're doing less than the speed limit on the highway, and there's trucks or whatever off to the side, so you can't really go anywhere. You just drove under a sign that says, lane is for passing. And these people just don't seem to pay attention. Well, this happened a couple of times to me today. And I just kind of smiled and rolled my eyes a little bit and said, oh, well, it is what it is. And I went through it. However, I remember getting angry and upset and pissed off and swearing, saying some not too nice words about the people that I don't know in front of me. And, well, how did I feel while I was raging, while I was mad? And also time. Hyper, expended, tired, annoyed. I just didn't feel good at all. And I was relating that to how I felt now with the same circumstance, except me not reacting that way, me not swearing and yelling and screaming. And I noticed that I felt a lot better. I felt more relaxed. Even if my raging scared the person out of the lane so I could pass, I didn't feel good afterwards. I've also been noticing lately that, and this is kind of related, because the words that we use actually hold an incredible power. Incredible power. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Still waiting for questions, though, people. I need questions from you, but I'm happy to continue. So basically, what happens is I've been noticing that when I'm with friends or when I'm with my wife, sometimes I'll just not really baby talk, but just silly talk, making up really silly words, silly sounds, just for the fun of it. And I notice that I feel incredibly good afterwards. And even during, I can literally feel my energy rising. And I want you to pay attention to that with you too. I want you to try quote unquote baby talk. Okay. I want you to try it. I want you to notice how you feel when you say certain words. So even before you do the whole baby talk thing or the silly talk thing, I want you to start paying attention when you talk, when you say things, the kinds of words you use, if you swear, if you are angry and use angry words, if you have bad thoughts, if you imagine the ability to have a laser pop out of the hood of your car to zap anyone who's pissing you off, that kind of a thing. I'd like you to pay attention to the kind of words you're saying and using and the kinds of feelings you have after you use them. I think you'll probably notice, like I noticed, that the silly words, the silly phrases, the silly actions bring peace and love and contentment to yourself. And the anger words, the S words, those kinds of words, they might feel like you're releasing tension at the moment, but you don't feel that way afterwards. You don't feel loose and happy and giddy afterwards. Nature makes you feel giddy. Nature makes you feel happy when you're doing the right thing. Nature makes you feel crappy when you're doing the wrong thing. This is why we feel good and why we feel bad. It's not a fluke. There's a reason for it. In nature, in your body, in your mind, there is a reason for everything. Nothing happens just because. So the way you feel emotionally and physically is there for a reason. And if we can interpret those reasons, and usually if we can interpret them when they're small little reasons, because often we get little hints before they blow up into something big. And that's what we need to keep in mind. We need to keep in mind that the words we use affect how we feel and how we think and how we experience and how we react. It's incredible the power the words we use have. So I'd like you all to what you're saying, how you're saying it, and the words you're using. And then do little experiments like I do with little silly talk. I've gotten into the habit of when I'm in a giddy mood saying something silly and then coming up with a nonsensical term right after it, which is almost like a translation of silly talk. Let me give you an example. Kind of like, uh, you know, uh, smelly and schmelly. So schmelly isn't a word, but it just makes me smile. Uh, Happy and schmappy. These kinds of things. It sounds stupid. It sounds nonsensical. It sounds like what's an adult doing talking like this? But if you start doing little things, if you start playing with yourself like that, and I mean like that, not the other ways. But if you start doing that, I think you'll notice higher energy levels in you. You'll notice you're happier. You'll just notice things. Too many of us, we feel this incredible urge to grow up. And yes, you have to be mature and you have to be adult when you're an adult and you're mature. But most of the time, you don't need quite to be like that. My aunt told me once that if you can get away from being mature till you're 50, then you don't have to anymore. Well, I went way past that, so I'm fine. I'm cool. But I know when to be serious. But when it isn't the time to be serious, I'm silly. And I like being silly. And it feels good inside to be silly. And I think we all need to learn to let go and to just be silly. I think it's our natural state to be silly. We all love laughing. Laughter feels great. There's your evidence right there. Okay, I see while I've been yakking away that a couple of people have written some things. So let's read what they are and see if they're questions. So, from Michael, would you describe the difference between the new trilemma approach and the original subliminal material? Okay, so my original subliminal material was kind of like an innovation on standard subliminal technology. So standard subliminal technology involves usually having some kind of a background sound, sometimes nature, streams, wind, rain, thunder, that kind of thing, which is called a mask. And it's called a mask because it's masking over the subliminal element. And the subliminal element would generally be positive statements, affirmations, these kinds of things. And normally in subliminal technologies, there's two main ways to present subliminal signals, if you will. One of them is to kind of whisper them. So you're speaking them normally, but they're quiet, really, really quiet. And then when you mask them with the nature sounds or whatever, or music, then people don't generally hear it consciously. But because it's still there, your subconscious is intended to pick it up and process it. Now, the second popular way is to use a frequency. So human hearing has a certain range. And what we do is we encode the frequency of the subliminal at a high enough range that we can hear it, but we don't hear it as speech. So if I could remove everything from the first method of subliminals, you would hear whispering, I am great, I am wonderful. I don't know if you could hear that. I hope you did. I was saying, I am great, wonderful. So you're hearing these kinds of things. Of course, I will explain why I am doesn't work in a minute, but I was using it as an example. Okay, so with the other technique, if you were to ask, you would hear like a chirping, a squeaking. You still wouldn't be able to hear what it is. That's because we're encoding it at a higher frequency so that your hearing can still pick it up, but your conscious mind doesn't interpret it as language. Your subconscious does. And the idea behind that is to get it past your conscious mind into your subconscious. Now, additionally, what I did to innovate is I used the same technique, except I used a higher frequency. Plus, I did something unique. I did a few things that I call my time warp technology, where that allowed me to compress what I was saying. So I'm presenting it at a high frequency, but I'm also compressing it so that you can get over 2 million presentations of the positive statements in 1 hour of play time. And that's what made it different, because in general terms, normal subliminals, regardless of the technique you use, you can layer them over and over and over again. But essentially, as far as the brain is concerned, if it's a message, the message is coming through at a much lower rate. Now, the way we learn is through repetition. So the more we learn, the more we pick up, the more that sticks. Technique, you're getting millions and millions of repetitions, if you will, per 1 hour of listening. Now, keep in mind, that might sound like, well, that's way too much. How does my mind deal with that? Brain actually does millions of processes every second. So it's not a big deal to imagine it doing 1 million or 2 million processes in an hour. So there's no problem there. Okay, that is subliminals. So let's see here. Okay, now when you're talking about triliminals, triliminals actually have two states that we've created. The original was the triliminal. So with the triliminal, you have three sets of statements. One in the left ear that sends information to the right hemisphere. One in the right ear sending information to the left hemisphere. And one set sending it to both hemispheres at the same time. So you're presented with three sets of speech at the same time. Sometimes they overlap, sometimes they follow each other, sometimes they seem a little discordant. It takes me 2 weeks to create a triliminal because I have to mesh up everything so it programs correctly. The idea behind a triliminal is that it uses the methodology combined with science and intuition that we use to learn in the first place, except it speeds it up so that we can relearn. Because everything that's hurting us in our belief systems are learned experiences. So what we do is we learn better experiences so that they help to defeat what I call negative reflexive thought processes. Negative reflexive thought process example would be if we don't get calls at right away, we have a negative thought. That's a negative reflexive thought process. Triliminals work to change that. Now, there's a couple of tricks with the triliminals, because what the triliminals do, it doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with what I say, because the way it's incorporated with the beats, the way they're scripted, and the way they're presented in terms with the other sets of recordings, what happens is your brain ends up interpreting or reinterpreting whatever I say in terms that are compatible to your thoughts, your processes. So essentially, they're designed so that you reinterpret everything I say, whether you agree with it or not, into your own terms. That makes it much more effective for you. Because let's face it, you don't have my upbringing, you don't have my hairstyle, you don't have a lot of things in common with me. How can I possibly expect you to repeat something that I'm telling you and have that change things for you? This is why they're designed specifically for you to reinterpret, reimagine, reinvent, repurpose, if you will, so that you can now turn around and make everything your own. The truth is, you're your only guru. There is no other guru in the world. Guru is kind of a really misleading word. There are none. The one who looks at you in the morning, that's your guru. So anything you can have, like triliminals, like brainwave entrainment, etc., that can help you to empower yourself and empower your own abilities to figure things out, to take action, to improve yourself, that's what's going to make a difference in your life. So triliminals, in my mind, are much more powerful than subliminals, but they do require more effort. For triliminals to have truly amazing effects, you really should listen at least 3 times a day. Not to the same triliminal. You need to pick and choose. Okay. But what happens is, let's say you have an intention in your mind of what you want to accomplish. I want to be a better public speaker. I'm nervous speaking in public. So what I decide to do is I'm going to go through my list of triliminals with that intention that I want to have, I want to speak better in public. I want to be more confident. As I hold that intention, certain titles will jump out at me. That's my subconscious mind telling me these are related to my issue. Once I have my set of triliminals that I have let my subconscious pick for me, I listen to those in order. So if I have 6, I'll listen to 3 today, 3 tomorrow, and then I'll rotate back and on and on and on. These will help to reprogram me back out of those negative processes and into positive ones. It uses the same techniques that you used, believe it or not, to learn all your bad habits or your non-serving beliefs, and it retrains you and reteaches you. Literally, it helps you to retrain yourself and to reteach yourself more positive, beneficial ways of thinking and being so that you can actually be happy and be satisfied and be content in your life. Often we think we know what we want. It's marketing that tells us what we want. I used to be a massive iPhone fan, and I would stand in line for the iPhone. And then one day I woke up and I realized, I'm waiting in line for 6 hours. It was an interesting experience, to be honest, but I'm waiting in line for 6 hours. I get there, I get my new iPhone, I'm all excited. And 10 minutes later, I say, you know what, this really isn't any different than last year's or the year before or the year before that. Yeah, it's a little faster, it's a little bigger, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it was built up in my mind from the outside. This is important, this is exciting, this is wonderful. But then when the experience happened, I realized that it was just a sales pitch. It really didn't do anything for me. Now, this isn't me, crapping on Apple. Apple's just an example. Any company, any marketing is all the same. It's all designed to make you think something that isn't necessarily true for you, but they kind of tell you, you will be happy if you do this, if you own this. And that's not the truth. You will be happy once you become at peace with yourself. The only person that can make you happy. Things are nice, but they're not going to make you happy. You are the only one that can make you happy. And when you realize this and when you start doing things to foster that, you will be happy. Now, before I go on to the next question, I want to point out to you that the affirmations in the triliminals are unusual. In subliminals, I am, because in a subliminal, you don't actually consciously hear my voice. Because you're not consciously hearing my voice, what is happening is there is nothing for you to relate that these messages coming in are from someone else. To your mind, it is you talking. In a triliminal, you're actually hearing my voice. You're hearing it 3 times, actually. And if I say, I am, there's 2 problems with that. The first problem is, what do you care if I'm happy or if I'm rich or if I'm this or if I'm not? It's all of the whole reason why you bought these products is for you, not for me to brag to you about something, right? The other thing is when you say I am, that's useless. I know every other person who talks about affirmations says you must say I am happy, I am rich, I am healthy, I am this, I am that. The truth of the matter is I am is an incredibly disempowering statement because what I am is You know you're not, like, let's say I'm not rich and I'm not healthy, and I say I am rich and I am healthy. Well, I know I'm not. That actually disempowers me, and it builds blocks and walls between my desires and my actual physical reality. It is a negative. It's a horrible thing. The way we learned isn't from I am. The way we learned is from you are. When you were a little baby, you didn't know what good or bad was. You didn't know what handsome or ugly was. You didn't know what smelly or you didn't know any of this. You didn't know anything. You didn't know what good or bad was. You didn't know what funny was. You didn't know what sad was. You didn't know anything. Everything you picked up was from the outside. When it came into the degree that you were ready to accept it as truth, that's when it becomes I am. You don't repeat I am is once you accept something as truth. In order to accept something as truth, you need to reverse engineer how you accepted everything from truth in the first place. And that was from repetition. It was from hearing others, other sources telling you, not necessarily directly, but indirectly or directly through newspapers, through the news, through the TV, through shows, through church, through school, through parents, through grandparents, through friends, whatever, through everything, that the world is like this and the world is like that. And when you hear it enough times, you believe it because you hear it so many times, you just accept it as the truth. This is how we learn. Okay, it's repetition. It's repetition. Think back to when you study for tests. You're reading the same thing over and over again. You're writing down the same thing over and over again. It's all about repetition. So, triliminals, we use science, we use intuition to speed up the process and change the message to something that works. Again, we learn from the outside. I am is a finished product, it is not a way to get there. The way to get there is the same way you learned in the first place the wrong things, except now we change the content to something good. Once we change the content to something good and we use the same process augmented by science, augmented by intuition, we end up with, and triliminals help to change the way you think naturally because that's how you learned how to think improperly in the first place. Now you change it to something proper. Now, I did mention that there were two forms of triliminals. That's kind of not true, but it kind of is. I have another product called Brain Prints. Does is it's basically triliminals subliminalized. So I came up with a way to subliminalize entrainment and make it still work. Now, because it's subliminal, it's not going to be as powerful, the entrainment, but it still works enough that it helps to create the neurochemistry necessary for the thoughts to become embedded in your conscious and subconscious mind. So what the brain print is it's essentially a subliminalized, adapted version of a triliminal that you can use without headphones, without lying down, without dedicating 30 minutes 3 times a day. You can have it playing nonstop in the background, not during driving. You never listen to any of my stuff while you're driving, but it allows you to incorporate these things without that extra effort. I had a lot of people ask me, I don't have enough time during the day, Morry, to spend 3 times 30 minutes lying down or sitting with my eyes closed. The truth is, I suspect you do. But if you're not going to, if you're going to believe you don't, then you won't. So they asked me, can you come up with a way to do this without having to go through as much of a conscious commitment? And that's what gave birth to the brain prints. So there you go. Very long-winded, but I wanted to give you a detailed answer so that so that it would be clear, so you'd have a better understanding, and so I'd give people a chance to ask more questions. So let's go down to the next question here. Let's see. Okay. Michael again, I have developed the habit of suggesting to people to say perfect instead of no problem. That's good. That's actually a really good idea because you're using a positive word instead of a double negative. Problem is a negative and no is a negative. Despite you say no, you're saying no problem, and we accept it consciously as, hey, no problem, it's good. Subconsciously and unconsciously, we're hearing the word no and we're hearing the word problem. And if you want to know if that's right for you, just say it. Say it out loud. Talk to a friend, talk to your wife, to your boyfriend, to your girlfriend, to your, no problem, but pay real attention to how you feel when you say that. And then say another statement, no problem. perfect. It just makes me, I realize it looks like I'm faking it, but it just makes me feel better to say perfect. So that's a really good example, Michael. Thank you for sharing. Alicia loves the idea of silly talk. You know, you're never too old to be silly. If you don't believe me, watch a Monty Python skit. If you're too young for that, go to YouTube and check some of it out. It's complete adult silliness. Being silly feels good. It's joyful. It's giddy. The child in you needs to be the child in you. The child in you needs to live. It needs to breathe. We live for the child. We need to be serious for things, work, etc. But that's not supposed to be our full-time job. Our full-time job is supposed to be joy. The serious, the other stuff is necessary, yes, but it shouldn't be our full-time job. Our full-time job should be joy. We should be working to live, not living to work. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Okay, we have a couple of cats and we do silly talk daily with them and my wife. Fun. You see, there you go. You'll notice that if you're a pet owner, you tend to talk silly to the animals, right? Or if you have a baby, you'll talk silly. Why do you stop talking silly just because they get older? Don't do that. Pay attention, attention. Seriously, just pay attention to how you feel. So many of us live detached from our minds and our bodies. And what I mean by that is we say things, we act, we react, but we don't pay any attention to how that feels. If you start paying attention to how it feels when you talk, the way you talk, when you look at people, when you smile, when you frown, when you eat certain foods, when you drink certain liquids, when you do anything, if you pay attention one day and watch, observe how you feel doing everything that you do, going to the washroom, okay, washing your hands, brushing your teeth, the sensations on your gums, all of that. Pay attention. You will be amazed at the world that opens up to you. And I hope when you do it one day, it'll start to become a habit for you because you will see how much of life you've been missing. You've been, what do they call it? I think they call it just skating through, not really paying attention, just going through the motions. When you start paying attention, when you start all of that, you will become much more grateful for things. You will understand yourself better. You'll understand people and things and circumstances better. You'll get more joy out of life. It's absolutely incredible. And look, I'm not brilliant. The only reason why I have these impressions and these feelings is because I've experienced them and I live them. And why do I live them? Because I discovered them through meditation. Through meditation, I tried meditation the traditional ways, couldn't get anywhere with it. I'm too busy questioning myself. Does this work? Am I doing this right? Am I supposed to be feeling like this? Am I supposed to be thinking this? I'm so busy thinking that I'm not getting anywhere. Using the entrainment, using the triliminals, using the subliminals, using the brain prints, just mixing them all together in a nice stew. All of these things will allow you to discover things about yourself that you never realized, that you never understood. And believe me, it'll make a massive difference in how you experience your life. And when that starts happening, you'll see every aspect of your life will start changing. Every aspect. So many people think that what they want is so far away, it's so far off in the distance. Because they go, oh, you know what? I wasted so much of my life. I did this, I did that. You know what? You haven't wasted a minute. You've done everything you're supposed to do to be exactly where you are right now. Now you can take action to be where you're supposed to be seconds from now. It's a choice and you can do it. You don't have to worry about what happened before because what happened before was necessary to teach you lessons. Start paying attention to everything now. Pay attention to what you say, to the words you hear, how you hear them, how you feel when you hear them, the intonation when people are using it, the emotional attachments they're putting into their voice, the way their eyes look when they're saying things, the way your eyes look when you're saying things, the way your heart feels when you speak. All of these things, when you pay attention to these things, and it sounds like a lot, but start slow, with the words, for instance, and you'll see it'll just flow. This is the human experience, natural way of being. We have been distracted by culture. We have been distracted by society. We've been distracted by marketing. We've been distracted by capitalism, by communism, by Buddhism, by religionism, by everythingism. Everything is distracting us from our true source joy. Your joy is within you. It isn't anywhere else. It's totally within you. You can still respect everything you believe that's good and pure. There's no problem there. You can even practice these things still and get joy. But think of the joy and beauty and just excitement and energy you're going to have when you're really truly appreciating and feeling grateful for these things. And when you consciously start paying attention to how every little thing affects you, how every little thing makes you feel. Because if something makes you feel good, you're on the right track. If it doesn't make you feel good, don't listen to what other people are telling you. You need to find your own path. This is what we are. We are all cells, individual cells with individual purposes in the body of a greater whole. Some people might call that greater whole God or the universe or universal energy or whatever. I call it the body of mankind. And when I say mankind, I mean all of us. I don't mean male kind. Okay. We are all part of the same functioning organism. We all have our unique ways of being that add to the color and the flavor of our unique existence and our civilization and our literally our, our biology. And we need to stop fighting that. We need to fight the programming instead and go back to what is natural and what is beautiful for us. And that will literally take us back to quote unquote Eden. Okay. Eden exists here. Eden doesn't exist anywhere else. And you can get there. Attention, because when you pay attention, you're going to have signals telling you, hey, this word's good for me. Hey, this word's bad for me. Stop using the bad word. Keep using the good word. Add to the good word pile. Take away when the bad words identify themselves, and be grateful for each case. Because every time you eliminate a bad word, you feel better. Every time you add a good word, you feel better. Everything is good. There is nothing that's inherently bad at all, only what we choose to define as bad. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful as well. Let's go to the next. Danny Big Wolf, what is the maximum sessions listened to daily recommended? Okay, in my manuals, I suggest minimum listening. Generally, for the first 2-3 months, I suggest leaving at least a 30-minute pause in between recordings. Never, of course, listen while you're driving. But what I suggest you do is trust your instincts after that point. If you think you need more recordings, if you feel really good and you just have that instinct that they're helping you, you can listen more often. You can actually listen as often as you like. The beautiful thing about brainwave entrainment when it's properly engineered is that the reason why you feel what you feel, not just from entrainment, but from any interested in what I'm saying, if you're bored by what I'm saying, it's because your brain is creating chemistry that is allowing you to feel that. You don't feel anything without chemistry. Nothing. You have to make a decision, whether you realize it or not. You make a decision. This interests me. This bores me. This turns me on. This turns me off. This makes me tired. This makes me awake. Blah, blah, blah. These decisions are made sometimes through a series of hundreds or even thousands of decisions like that, in that kind of a time frame. But the decisions are made. When they are made, your brain creates frequencies that create neurochemistry. And the different chemicals that are created by the different frequencies create what I call a neural soup. It is that soup that allows you to feel the way you feel. That's why you feel anything, because of chemistry. Okay, so now that you understand it's because of chemistry, using the entrainment can influence your chemical output. The nice thing is that if you listen too much, which really there is no such thing, but if you do listen too much, your brain will only produce the neurochemistry that's needed. Once you have enough, you can keep listening. It's not going to produce more because we're not adding things. It's your brain. Your brain says, hey, I have enough. I'm enjoying listening, but I'm not going to produce more neurochemistry. It's very simple. That's one of the reasons why. So you really can't OD. There were times through my severe depression, I won't get into my story unless someone asks me because I've said it 1,000 times, but through my severe depression, there were times when I was listening 4 or 5 hours to help bring me out of the abyss. And it did. Now, I'm not telling you to listen 4 or 5 hours a day, but depending on your circumstances, you may want to consider listening much more often than you do. But originally, when you start out, I suggest starting out the way I suggest in the manual at the most for at least 2, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. And as long as everything is going pleasantly for you, then you can consider upgrading, if you will, to something different and something new. Okay, now one other thing I want to point out is that we give bonus recordings too with our products. You should never use bonus recordings in place of the main recordings, only if you have additional time, or once you've reached the pinnacle of where you want to be and now it's just maintenance dose time. So when I say maintenance dose is I'll listen every day. Once I achieve what I want to achieve, I can go down to a maintenance dose for me, which is once or twice a week. You'll have to figure out what a maintenance dose is for you. That then frees me up for more recordings that I can just randomly pick when I want. Now, keep in mind that after a couple of months of listening, if you've been listening properly and consistently, you're going to start noticing your instincts according to listen to. You need to listen to your instincts. Again, you're your own guru. I am the expert in this, true, but I'm not the expert in your brain. I give you a starting point to help you and your brain figure out how it works for you and how it should work for you. After that, you start trusting your own brain and your own mind to tell you what to listen to. I give you a generalized starting point that you should stick with for the first couple of months. After that, if you're inspired to listen differently than I suggest, I think you need to honor inspiration and you need to do it that way. Okay, I hope that's been helpful. Okay, Michael liked my answer. Thank you very much. I try to speak from here. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Where's my heart? It's around here somewhere. Okay, all right. Okay, you're welcome, Danny. You're welcome, Michael. So Alicia would like to know if I can expand more about my program, Quantum Confidence and Quantum Mind Power. Okay, Quantum Mind Power is a general self-improvement system. So basically, it's designed to help you entirely to help yourself. It has no speciality whatsoever. It's strictly designed based on the concept that you know what you need. I don't. And you do on some level, but maybe not consciously. So if you listen to it regularly and consistently, it will help you in the field of, say, self discovery. And then it will help you to take action once you've made these discoveries and formulated ways to act on them. And again, it sounds like I'm asking you to do a lot of work, but your mind will naturally come up with these processes. Okay, it's just a matter of taking the action once you do. Quantum confidence came out of the need of quantum mind power because when quantum mind power came out, a lot of people said, I really like this, but I want something that's specialized. And this is more of a product of the world we live in. A lot of people who do self-improvement work and other kinds of work, they specialize. So they'll have certain topics that they deal with. In my experience, topics do not exist in a vacuum, which means if you want something for confidence, which is what I created with quantum confidence, then you can't just deal with confidence because confidence could have so many things associated with it. Sense of worthiness, sense of humor, loneliness, opinion of yourself as far as your appearance is concerned. It can have to do with relationships, with how you deal with stress. I mean, there's so many different things that can be involved. So quantum confidence is designed to, again, help you to try to activate the areas in your life that are necessary for you to be able to bundle together, if you will, all of the different factors that are influencing your confidence issues. And then there's some spoken word aspects that actually deal with confidence specifically, because with quantum mind power, it's again a very general. With quantum confidence, we kind of focus on general work that the programs do to inspire you to move forward in that particular direction. So that's the biggest difference. With quantum confidence, also, the main recording system, recording itself actually, is designed based on work I did and I thought have had their brainwaves measured. So that recording to help train your brain to get into the same state that these people generally are in when they are highly confident, they have good self-esteem, and they're making good decisions. So the idea is to retrain you and train you into a point where you actually start building confidence, but also that we can recreate in you the same brainwave states that these people are in that already are confident. So that's how quantum confidence is designed. Okay, we're going to walk on over to Michael Eisen again. I found your material through Natalie Ledwell's Mind Movies, using it daily since May. It has enabled me to make tremendous strides in my. Thanks for sharing that, Michael. You see, the thing people need to realize is that everything I design is based on you. If I give you a hammer and a saw and nails and wood stain, and I come to three of your houses and I give all of you these things as well as wood, and I pile everything up in your backyard in neat little piles, and one of you builds a hot tub, the other, and I say a hot tub and a gazebo, and the other one builds a beautiful deck, and the third one does nothing. It's just a pile of wood. A bunch of raccoons are living under there now, some rabbits, wildlife. It's turned into a mini wildlife preserve. Well, everybody's had the same tools, but they had to pick them up or not, as the case may be, and then create something with them. The point is, if you have people over for a barbecue now, all three of these people are having people over for a barbecue, one person is having the barbecue and there's this giant pile of wood there. Another person has the hot tub and the gazebo, another person has the deck. If they say, hey, look at this deck I made, that's what you're likely to say, right? Hey, check out the deck I built, or check out the gazebo and the hot tub I built. You don't, or you're not likely to say, hey, look at what this hammer and saw did, right? Tools. My recordings are just tools. In my depression, in my decades-long depression and spitefulness and hatefulness and disgusting, one thing I learned was that it didn't matter what was out there to help me. It couldn't if I didn't use it. If you have a headache and Tylenol normally gets rid of your headache, and you don't take Tylenol, it's not going to get rid of your headache. Just looking at it isn't going to do anything. Once you take action, it's you who is making yourself feel better. It's you who is constructing a new life. It doesn't matter what tool you're using, whether it's somebody else's meditation tools, whether it's a diet book, whether it's anything. Once you start taking the action, you need to realize that it's you. And that's what I had to realize in my challenges, that it's up to me. And when I do something, when I read something, when I apply it, it is me. It isn't the superstar. It isn't the movie star. It isn't the TV star. It isn't the writing book star. Any of these people who have all this popularity and notoriety because of their work is unless I apply it. And even sometimes in that case, I didn't apply it properly, so it didn't work. Or I did apply it properly and it still didn't work because it wasn't for me. My work is designed on a blueprint that is yours. It takes advantage of common elements in all of us as human beings to work to activate what is in each of us so that we can take what we need for ourselves and then act on that. And that's, I believe, why my work is so effective when it's used properly. That's why it pulled me out of 40 years of deep, dark depression. I'm not going to say too much more or my old depression, except that I'd like you to take a look at whatever is the darkest black that you can see in front of you right now, the darkest, pitchest black color that you see, and picture that as your brightest sunny day. That's what my life was like for 40 years. And now I'm not only finished with it, but I'm grateful for it because it helped to create who I am. And I am happy. I do what my heart sings about. I love my work. I love what I do. Work is silly. And yet I know that if I get cocky, if I get overconfident, I could slide back. But I choose to be grateful and I choose to be vigilant. And I choose, I don't just say these things that I tell you, I live these things that I tell you. And yeah, I'm human. I make mistakes. Sometimes I don't. And sometimes I screw up. At least I learn from that. And that's what we all need to do. You don't kick yourself. You don't get mad at yourself. Learn from it. There's a reason why some things happen that we may define as bad. But if we define them as bad, we don't learn anything. Instead, learn to define them as an education. When you define something as an education, you learn from it. Maybe the worst thing doesn't have to happen. maybe the quote unquote thing we now define as bad didn't have to happen in the first place had we been paying attention to the little hints, to the little clues that we were given earlier, the little pains, the little aches, the little events, the little close calls, that kind of thing. Okay, I'm going to move on now to the next couple of mentions here. I'd like to point out that there's only 2 more comments for me to work on. We've been at this for 45 minutes. I'm definitely happy at the end of answering these to call it a night if that's what you all would like. But I'm also happy to stick around. I feel like I'm just getting warmed up here. So please feel free to, while I'm chatting here, multitask and type away and ask whatever you'd like. Okay. I'd like to share from using my products. If you have a technique other than another product, because again, I don't market other people's products, but if you have a technique that help other people, I'm more than happy to share that too. If it's preferably something you came up with yourself. I find a lot more value in things that people create than things they just do from others. Again, I would have a lot more value attributed to other people's work, book, the popular self-help guru type people, if they wrote a little disclaimer in the front of their books or videos or movies that said something simple and easy, like, I am who I am because of the experiences, because of the events, because of the people, because of the knowledge, because of everything that's happened to me. In this book, in this video, in this movie, I'm going to relay to you lessons I've learned, inspirations I felt, intelligence, but understand that this is all from my perspective. If any of this resonates with you, then feel free to take it within yourself, reinterpret it, reimagine it, repurpose it based on your experience, based on your life, based on your knowledge, on your wisdom. And then if you still are inspired by it, take action. Only when you make something your own can it work for you, truly. If you try to mirror what I do or what someone else does, it'll never work for you because you don't have the same circumstance, the same challenges, the same educations, the same everythings, the same experiences. But you have your own unique ones. And if you do that simple thing by reimagining an inspiration, reinterpreting it within your own experience, you then can create wonderful, miraculous events in your own life. If they would just add something like that in there, I think they'd be a lot more useful. The way they are now, though, it makes it sound like follow my blueprint and you'll be case. But if they put that little disclaimer in there just to let us know, it would have made all the difference. But think about it. I mean, if they did do that, then maybe I wouldn't be doing this. So I'm kind of grateful. But at the same time, I think it's time now for all of us self-help styled people to be honest and say it's not us. It's only hope to inspire. Once you take the action, it's all you. And I just want you to all know that. You've always had the power. You always will have the power. Okay. Michael, nonetheless, I still have hesitancy making the indicated investment. Will the current material help me get past this point? Okay. Great question. I'm not going to answer it, though. Someone tells you, I'm sure in light of everything I've just said, you kind of understand why. You need to use the products. You need to tell me if it will give you the insight or help you to gain the insight that you need to do what you need to do. Everybody is unique. I think if you ask a question to someone, especially in the self-help field, saying, if I do this, will this happen for sure? Will I be a millionaire at the end of the week or at the end of the month or at the end of the year? And they have an answer for you. I think that's a good time to ask for a refund. Okay. My products help you to help yourself. I don't know what that means to you. I don't know how you're going to help yourself. Maybe you still need to learn more things before you are, quote unquote, past that point. Sometimes we get stuck. Oh, I got to get past this point. I got to get past this point. We don't always know what's right for us. Look, I met my wife when I was 47. Okay, that was, if I had met her before then, we would have failed because I didn't know what I knew. I was still smoking a lot of booze and I was still addicted to a bunch of other things. But because it took its time, because I grew, I was then in a position to meet her. Then I met her. Don't be in such a rush to get past the point. If you feel like you need to get past the point, the better question isn't, when will I get past this point? The better question is, what do I need to know so that I can get past this point? What lesson am I missing? What lesson haven't I seen yet, or I haven't paid attention to yet, that will get me past this point? There's information that's keeping you from getting past that point. And it's not a negative, it's a positive. Stop thinking there's a block there. There's no blockage. There's something you need to learn so that when you get past that point, it's a benefit to you and not a negative. It's all here. Because you're looking at it as a negative, because you're looking at it as a bad thing, because you're looking at something you have to overcome, you're not seeing that it's actually a lesson. It's something you need to learn before you get past that point. You love yourself. The universe loves you. The energy loves you. God loves you. Whatever you believe loves you, and it doesn't want you to. So it's trying to teach you something so that you won't. If you don't listen to that lesson, it'll keep holding you back until you do. But it's not holding you back. It wants you to succeed. You just need this knowledge. You need this information in order to do so. Stop looking at it as a speed bump holding you back. Look at it instead as someone saying, hey, hold on, your parachute isn't done up, or it's not packed properly. Let's pack it properly, and then you can jump. Okay, I hope that helps. Please make a specific program recommendation to help me get past these blocks. All right, you just heard what I said. That's what I suggest. You don't have blocks. There are no such things as blocks. The only blocks are when we think it's a block and we actually put them ourselves to keep us from learning what we need to learn, because our attitude isn't that we need to learn something. Our attitude is that something bad is happening to keep us from this. I'm telling you, our biggest enemies are ourselves. Our biggest heroes are ourselves too. It's all a matter of how you choose to look at it. If you look at something not working for you, it's not because there's a problem with it. It's a problem with the way you're looking at it. Everything always has a logical progression. If you don't see one, it's probably because you're not looking at it from the right direction. You know, I can look at and I can say, it's a pen, right? You can look at this too and say, hey, yeah, that's a pen. Well, you know what's interesting? You can look at it like this, and you may not know what it is anymore. You may look at it like this, and you still may not know what it is anymore. It's the same thing. It's a pen. Just because you don't recognize it for what it is doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's the same thing with your so-called blocks. It's not a block, but because you are interpreting it, I'm interpreting this as a thumbtack, it can't be used as a pen. But now I see, my thinking is what's holding me back here. This isn't a thumbtack. This is a pen. Right? It's called object permanence in babies. Funny enough, it affects all of us as adults too. Weird, eh? Okay, Lisha, can you tell us about how we can recover from health issues based on your experiences in your life? Well, a lot of what I've been saying can help. Please keep in mind, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a guru. I used my own recordings to help me get clarity of thought and to help me intuit what I needed to do. I changed my diet. I moved around a little bit more. I did what I could do, and things changed for me. Everybody's going to have a different solution. So I can't tell you what you need to do to help you to change health issues. But one thing I can tell you I did is through listening, I got inspired to take more action. So there's this really cool thing out there called the internet. And I actually started doing research. And there's a lot of people who had same issues or similar issues to what I had. And, there's blogs and there's, discussion boards and groups and things like that. And I just read and I learned. And again, what resonated with me, I tended to follow through on. And what didn't resonate on me, I said, thank you and moved on. But your answers are within you, Alicia, and everybody. You just need to be open. And if you don't get the answer right away, it's because you need more learning first. You need more preparation first. No one wins a championship without preparation first. Everything for a reason. If you have some pain, if you have some aggravation, if you have some suffering, these things are there to teach you something. Believe me, you think after a lifetime of pain and dislocations and mental pain and all these other things, you think that I don't feel pain anymore? Do you think that I don't experience discomfort? Broken my bones so many times and dislocated my bones so many times and concussions and broken my nose a million times. I mean, so many things that I have pain almost all the time. But sometimes it's worse and sometimes it's bearable and sometimes it's easier. But it is what it is. I do what I can do. I investigate different modalities. I've been recently trying things like acupressure. I found some cool acupressure points that seem to be helpful, but I still smile. I still laugh, even in pain. Now, yes, there are times, I'm not going to lie to you like I'm some kind of superhero, that, I'm in excruciating pain and I'm still laughing, go, ha ha ha. But there's always a way to find humor in everything. And once you get by the worst part, you can be grateful that you're by the worst part. You can think of a part of your body that doesn't hurt you when another part is hurting you. Our minds tend to amplify things. So if we take our attention away from what it's amplifying, we can often find that it makes a difference for us. And that can help too. But honestly, I think you know to do, Alicia. I think you know what you need to do to help your health issues. You just need to discover what you know, to see what you know. Like you own a house and you've only lived on the main floor and 2 rooms upstairs. All the other rooms have locks on them. You own the house, all of it. It's all yours. Everything in all those rooms is yours. But you just need to find the keys to get in. You already have the keys. You just need to find them. And that's what these kinds of technologies allow you to do. They allow you to find the keys to open the doors to discover what's lurking in these rooms so you can figure out what's been missing, what isn't missing, what you have been missing but's been in front of your face the whole time, like things to be grateful for instance. And you'll changes, paying attention to the words. One of the beautiful things about YouTube, and this is one of the reasons why I switched my format to doing these things on YouTube, is that I used to use another system that was you call in or you can be in on the web or on the phone. There were all these different choices, but it wasn't reliable. And I'd get kicked off and the signal would drop out. Hey, I can't hear you anymore. And sometimes the recordings didn't work. Well, you know what? You can go back and listen to this over and over again as often as you want. You can pause it. You can take notes. You can create little exercise cards for yourself. You can do whatever you need to do to help yourself. But you need to take that action in order to do that. The recording's going to be there. I'm not taking it down. It's going to be there as long as there's a YouTube. Okay. There's other calls that I've done, customer service calls, where I answer questions as well. Often there's a lot of repetition because a lot of questions are similar. But each time I explain it, it's different because I don't go from a script. So there's different nuances. There are different things that there's different things that you might resonate with. You may not resonate with something I say tonight, but the way I said it, last month, maybe you will. You do what your instinct tells you to do. Okay, but you do. That's the trick. It's like that Star Wars, I think The Empire Strikes Back, where Yoda says, there is no trying, there is only doing. I'm going to try to pick up this pen. No, I'm not. I'm either going to do it or I'm not. There's no trying. It's all up here. Golfers say that the true field of play, soccer players, football players, all baseball players, hockey players, the field, the rink, the stadium, it's all here. It's all between the ears. That's where all the hard work happens. But it doesn't have to be hard if you're open and if you allow yourself to take advantage of the techniques that are out there to allow you to help yourself. And that's the real trick. I use this technology to help create this technology so that you can help yourself. Okay, let's see here. Carlos, welcome. Any triliminal specifically for intelligence or to strategize? Okay, you may not have heard this, Carlos, and I may not have even said it this time, but the best way to choose triliminals, or brain prints for that matter, is to hold an intention in your mind. Okay, look at the list of triliminals, or if you have a bunch, if you already have one of the larger systems, look at the list with your intention in mind. So for instance, your intention is to increase intelligence, increase your ability to strategize. So I would hold as my first intention intelligence. And I would look at the different titles of the triliminals. And the ones that jump out at me in a positive or negative way are ones that are related to that issue. So I might have 4 or 5, say, that pop out at me for intelligence. Then I go, okay, I want to be a better strategist. So I look at it and I'm looking at the list for strategy. And maybe another 4 or 5 pop up, 3 of which were from the previous one, intelligence. So now I only have 2 more. Say I have 7 or 8 that I have to listen to now. So these are 7 or 8 that would deal with my issues for intelligence and strategy. And all I do is I listen to them, cycle through them. So if today I can only listen to 1, I listen to 1. Tomorrow, I choose from the 7 that are remaining. If I can listen to 2 tomorrow, then the next day I choose from the 5 that are remaining, and so on until I get through it. And then I cycle through it again, and I keep going. As I start noticing my attitudes changing and my actions changing, then I go through and I do it again. See, this is the nice thing about, say, Triliminal 2.0, which is a larger triliminal set of 70 different topics. You can actually recreate and create and morph your system and create new systems all the time based on your needs. So just because you chose, say, 8 recordings for strategy and intelligence 3 months ago doesn't all totally relevant to you today, because you've grown, you've developed, you've changed. So you go through the list again. Some of them will be the same. Others might be different topics that jump in now. So the product has the ability to change when you choose like that, because you're creating your own unique system, which changes as you change. Because this with self-improvement in that you're not the same person you were when you started using a system a year later. Many systems are still good, but think about how much better it can be if you can turn around and continually re-customize your system, fine-tune it forever, literally. If more issues crop up, you can add them. Nothing exists in a vacuum, so you can deal with all your issues at once. One of the reasons why we don't succeed with a lot of self-improvement is because we're only working on self-confidence. We're only working on, profitability. We're only working on this or this or that. Odds are all of our issues are interrelated. And because they're interrelated, if we only deal with one thing, it doesn't help us. If I want to exercise, do, weights with my left arm will get strong. My shoulder might get strong. My chest might get sore because I'm not building those muscles. And now I have all this extra muscle tissue and weight to bear. All things go wrong on the rest of my body because I'm only exercising one piece. I don't actually get the benefits. If instead I start exercising my whole body and I'm push-ups and sit-ups and all these other things, now I'm basically toning my entire body. Now I'm really benefiting because I'm dealing with a mechanistically holistic sense. I'm dealing with every possible event, every possible issue that I have all at once, because they are interrelated anyway. That's another issue, and that's another benefit to choosing your own recordings when it comes to brain prints, when it comes to the triliminals. Alicia, perceptions about free will and destiny. That is an interesting question. I believe we all have free will as long as we don't interpret anything that happens to us. If we experience something and we act react based on itself purely without any interpretation, without any emotionalization, without any intellectualization attached to it, then I think we're operating from a state of free will. But the minute we start intellectualizing it, interpreting it, emotionalizing it, then we are putting a stamp of society, of of culture. Too many things are getting involved that aren't us at that point, and then we think we have kind of like the freedom of choice when you only have three choices. It's like, you get to choose whatever you want. As I think Ford, when he came out with the Model T, said you can have any color you want as long as it's black. So it's an illusion of choice. But if you don't interpret, if you just allow things to come to you and you just allow yourself to know without interpretation, without any of that other garbage involved, then you truly have free will. Destiny, I think we make destiny. I don't think destiny is written in a book somewhere. I think we're all destined for something. But something is like a tree. So we all start off from the trunk, which is a single unit. But as it goes up, it branches out into thousands and millions of possibilities. And depending on right turns, left turns, up, down, sideways, under, it's fluidic. I believe, if you want to believe in destiny, my belief of destiny is that yes, there's destiny, but destiny is thing and anything. There isn't a single destiny. Destiny depends on your choices along the way. And that's what I believe. Michael says that rolfing is useful in relieving chronic pain. Thanks, I'll look it up. I'll see what it does. If any of you are interested, also do a Google search on rolfing. It's spelt down here. Second from the bottom, I believe. Rolfing, Rolfing. Just look it up. Sounds like something that could have very nice benefits. Okay, I see one more comment here from Alicia, and I'm happy to stick around, but I need questions, comments, something. These calls that I'm going to be doing on YouTube are for you. I'm here for you. I will have little anecdotes here and there, like I did today, to kind of fill the air, give you guys time to write in the beginning. But really, the purpose is for me to be here for you. I have to assume, if there's no more comments, that you've heard enough of me and you want to say goodnight already. So let me get to the last comment. If any of you have anything you'd like to add or have me talk about, feel free. If you don't think you can get it typed in time, then just write part of it, like even a couple of words, and ... and then I'll know there's more coming. Okay, so you don't have to rush yourself. So what might possibly be the last comment of the evening is, Alicia, I'm in love with your work. Thank you very much. But in reality, Alicia, you're in love with your work. Again, I'm the hammer and the saw. You're the making it useful part. Thank you so much for your is mine, no question. You're welcome. Dedication and service. I love this. It's easy, and you're welcome. Where I came from makes me others not to have to deal with what I dealt with. And if you are dealing with it, I want to help you to help yourself get out of it. And if you're on that path there, I'd love for you to be able to get off that path before you have to deal with it. So that's why I do what I do. And I thank you very much. Your products that I've been using are fantastic. Again, thank you very much. I do design them to allow you to benefit yourself. And I appreciate your feedback that what I do is doing exactly that. Thank you for letting me know, and thanks for sharing. Okay, Carlos, I listen to your subliminals at night on low volume through the whole night. Yeah, actually, that's a good point. You can do that. And even if you have the brain prints, you can do that too, even though they have subliminal entrainment in them. The reason you can do the subliminals like that is because While you're sleeping, even more of your guard is down. You do not have to consciously be aware that that you're actually hearing something. As long as you're aware that, hey, I'm putting this on, I'm setting it to replay, or I'm setting it to run for 8 hours while I'm sleeping, and these have beneficial statements and wordings that are designed to help me, to help myself, to feel better, to be better, to act better. That's all. As a matter of fact, there are studies out there that show that if you know you're listening to a subliminal, and if you're okay with that, and if you're okay with what the content is, that you will get benefits or are likely to get benefits from it. And that's even you just think they're subliminals and there's nothing there. It could just be a background of a river and someone telling you there's subliminals in here. They're telling you, help you to stimulate ways to be happier and healthier and wealthier and all these wonderful things. Even if it's not there, there's research that says you could actually benefit. So imagine knowing all of this and having legitimate technology behind it that adds to that power anyway. Be amazing what the mind is capable of. I mean, look around you. You can see me now, which may or may not be a better on your state of mind or who you are. But this technology is the creation of a thought. My systems are the result and the creation of a thought. Everything you do is the result and the creation of a thought. It's truly amazing how powerful our brains are, all of our brains. Because you're here, and I don't mean here on this particular call, but because you're here, that means you have a purpose and you're important. You wouldn't be here otherwise. And when you're not here anymore, that's because you're needed elsewhere. That's all. Always important. You always will be important. You always were important. You need to understand that, regardless of the stupid lessons teachers may have taught you, teach you, anybody else in the world might have tried to teach you. You have worth and you're necessary. Everybody's necessary. Every cell in your body is necessary. The cell in my finger, the cell in my heart, one isn't more important than the other. You are a cell to make the whole complete. And you need to understand that. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you have hair or not. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. All that matters is that you're here, and you should be grateful for that, and you should feel good about that. You should feel good. It doesn't matter if anyone else will tell you that. That you are important to the nature of everything on this planet. People you don't know need you to be you. You need them to be them too. We all need each other to be our unique selves. And once you have that inner understanding, I think you'll be able to see a lot more beauty in the world and a lot more beauty in yourself. Okay, Michael, thanks for making a true 21st century way of self-improvement. Thanks. Yeah, I'm kind of the beliefs that, there's a lot of things, ancient wisdom, that kind of thing, that's been around forever. I think that things that don't change are outdated and they're not as useful as they were. Like, let's say something came about 5,000 years ago and it's never changed. It's still exactly the same as it was then. It isn't as useful as it could be. The human experience is about evolution. It's about changing. It's about growing. We don't know everything. As a matter of fact, we know very little. But comparatively speaking to what we knew 5,000 years ago, even 100 years ago, we know so much more, and our understanding is so much better, that we're doing ourselves a great injustice if we just accept something because it's called classic wisdom or ancient wisdom. There's no such thing as ancient wisdom that's relevant to today. If that ancient wisdom evolves through time or is evolved by an individual like any of you, for instance, with your own unique thoughts, your own unique ideas, that's when it becomes useful again. But if it's ancient, the whole concept of I am is a beautiful example of that. Everybody thinks I am works. I am is the biggest crock I've ever heard in my life. And if those of you who might have come in late don't know about this, you can listen to the show a little bit earlier when I talked about this. I am isn't how we learn. I am is an end, not a means. And I down that affirmations help them and have made a difference in their lives. And the only difference affirmations with I am have ever made in anyone's life is making them feel like they're doing something. But the result is the same. I am does not do a thing. You are, it is. That's what changes everything. So this is a great example of ancient wisdom. I am is wrong. I am is about control. It's I am is about taking away your power. If again, and just for those of you that weren't there, if you are sick and you are poor and you say I am rich and I am healthy, you know you're not. You're actually disempowering yourself. You're building walls. You're not taking them down. We learned from you are. We learned from the outside in. We didn't learn from the inside out. We need to use that methodology. The same methodology that taught all the wrong things, we need to use that methodology to teach us the right things. It's basically using the same technique, but changing the content. Reverse engineering is the as long as you can survive the initial learning experience. That's really what's important. Okay, Wayne. Hi, Morry. Will previous Morry customer appreciation session be uploaded to YouTube? Actually, no, they won't. This is a new thing. The other stuff was on instantteleSeminar.com, and those are still there. And occasionally, Song might share the odd one here and there, but I'm not even sure if we're still paying for it. Again, it was unreliable. Uh, if you have questions that I didn't answer tonight and you want to ask them either tonight or on future calls, feel free. But the YouTube is going to be the new way of doing things. It's just easier for people. They can they can watch this and participate on their phones, on their computers, at home, out on the reliable. And the recording, once I end the stream, the recording after it gets processed will be up on YouTube and you'll be able to watch it anytime you want. Again, I mentioned this before, you pause it, you take notes if you want to, you just practice whatever you want to practice. YouTube is a much better format. It's also more modern. You get to see me, not that I'm so wonderful to look at, but you get to see my passion. You get to see me, my eyes. You see, I care. On the phone, it's too, I don't know, it's just impersonal. I feel much better like this. I have another system called Zoom involved. That would be even better because then we could share each other's faces and we could all see each other. But it's a little more involved to use, and I think YouTube is just the simplest solution right now. So thanks for asking, but for now, we're building a YouTube repertoire. Michael wants to know what I think about tapping. I think tapping, for me, it's interesting because tapping, I feel, is like a form of entrainment. You're tapping, right? Tapping at a rate, and that rate is translating. For me, it kind of hit and miss in the past. Never really had any long-term. It's one of the things I tried through my depressions, through all my pain, that I had high hopes for, but it really wasn't. That's not to say that I don't think it's good. I think there's lots of great modalities out there. Many of them did nothing for me, but I still think they're very good because I think it's up to all of us to try what we need. I mean, look, people found me. You all found me because you had a need and you searched and you found me. But you probably found other things too. And you probably tried other things before you tried my products. Some of them maybe worked a little bit, some of them worked a lot, some of them didn't work at all. This is the nature. This is why we need different people doing different things. We need people doing different things because everything doesn't work for everybody. Now, yes, everybody has a brain and everybody's brain operates essentially the same way as far as action and reaction with the frequency following response, how entrainment works and things like that, how to reprogram negative reflexive thought processes. All these things are pretty common, pretty standard. But that doesn't mean that some people won't like it and they'll need to have something else. That's one of the reasons why I have different products and why I'm always working on new techniques and new products, because what I currently have is good for a lot of people, but it's not good for everybody. And I need in my heart to try to have something for everybody. And as long as I have the creative juices flowing, and as long as these ideas and concepts come to me, I will, to the best of my ability, so that hopefully, people who might believe in me and my work, but haven't found something that helps them yet, might be able to find something that helps them. So I appreciate that. Love to see the new format. Love the new format. Great to finally see you in person. I feel like I'm in all of your living rooms or bedrooms or bathrooms, wherever you are. Some of you might be taking a bath while you're watching this. So wherever you are, I really appreciate you being here. And even if you're not watching this live, I appreciate you checking it out afterwards. And I truly hope that there's something here for all of you. When I do these kinds of calls, I want not just to help you in the sense of how to use my products for best effects. Sure, that's important. But I want to give you techniques, insights that maybe will resonate with you, to hopefully give you all something you can take home that doesn't cost you anything, that you can maybe have a different understanding, that opens your eyes into a different direction. Again, allows you to see that the thumbtack is really a pen. That's really, the point. Once you realize that, once you see that, you have the aha moment, and you realize that if you see something that isn't right for you, it doesn't feel, and maybe you're just looking at it the wrong way. Maybe. It's something to consider anyway. So I see that there are no more comments, questions. But before I say goodnight, I'm going to give you an option. If anyone has anything else they want to ask or comment on, just tap anything, kind of like this. Just tap and enter. Okay? And you'll see it comes up on the screen. It will let me know that you're typing something and I should stick around. So I'm going to count back from 10 and do kind of like a mini meditation for 10, a little over 10 seconds, but a real mini meditation, and see if anyone comes up with anything else that they'd like to ask. So as long as you're in a position and a situation that is reasonable and safe, in other words, you're not driving or watching this in some situation where you shouldn't be, then I'd like you to close your eyes, unless you're typing, and just follow with me. Take a deep breath. Release it slowly to the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Notice how your head feels as you breathe out and as you breathe in. 9. Start paying attention to your fingers, to your hands, your wrists, your arms, elbows, forearms, and shoulders. Pay attention to them like you've never noticed them before. Like they're brand new appendages on your body, giving you abilities that you never thought possible. Pay attention to how it feels and how happy and how grateful you are for these gifts. Breathe in again. Breathe out to an internal count of 3. I forgot where I was. Let's go for 7. You can laugh at yourself. You find that you're funny. You do silly things, and these silly things make you feel great. Put a big smile on your face and on those of the people around you. Now, pay attention to your head, to your eyes, to your nose, to your mouth, your chin, your ears. As you scroll through the different parts, pay attention to how they're feeling. Is there any pressure, tingling, warmth, coolness? Anything at all. There's nothing right. There's nothing wrong. Just pay attention. 5. I'd like you to move down to your throat now and your upper chest. I'd like you to pay to how it feels. Feel the rising of your shoulders as you breathe, the expanding of your and be grateful for all the functions that happen automatically, to keep happy and healthy and alive. 4. Now pay attention to the torso and everything that's happening within. Go deep inside. Watch your heart, your lungs. Whatever you have, whatever you don't have, pay attention to the space. Pay attention to the intricate, the work of art that are your organs. The work of art that is you. 3. Now move down into your thighs, into your legs, your knees, your calves. Pay attention to how they feel, to what they tell you. Why do you, if you don't have an answer, just smile and say, that's okay. I will when I need to know. There's no rush. I'm just interested and grateful. 2. Now we're at our feet. Support everything as we stand and as we walk. We're very grateful to the intricate design. We have more bones in our feet than in any other structure in our body. And they work, even if they don't work all the time well, even if sometimes they cause us a little discomfort. They are there for us, and they allow us to be complete. They allow us to get from one place to another. 1. We are now in a state of joy, of peace, contentment. We are happy, we are grateful, and we vow to pay attention and to give attention to every part of our body, our mind, to all of us, to any of us, and to everybody. We feel great. We feel whole. We are great. We are whole. Take another breath in. And then to an internal count of 3, let it out slowly and allow yourself to smile. Feel free to open your eyes anytime you want. And if you have anything else that you'd like to add, feel free. Okay, Wayne, thank you for your perspective. Always a pleasure. Thank you of my triliminals. Sandra, try the technique that I was talking about before the little mini meditation, okay? Where you hold as your intention, you want to be an action taker. I'm an action taker. Action, action, action. And then what I want you to do, your list of triliminals, and pick the ones that jump out at you, especially the ones that you are annoyed by, because the ones you're annoyed by are even more powerful of an influence on this issue. Once you have the triliminals picked out, rotate through them as many as you can in a day, up to 3 a day, until you've gone through them all, and then keep going through them. When you feel intuitively that you need to do this again, you need to go through the list again, do it. Just keep trusting your intuition, picking new recordings. You will see that you will be able to reprogram yourself so you will be taking action. Believe me, I was king procrastinator. Okay. And look at me now. I'm doing so many things. See, look what I'm doing. But seriously, you'll be able to do anything you want to do. Another technique is little bite-sized pieces. Break down everything you need to do and put it into your calendar. Set yourself like 5 or 6 reminders. And when the reminders go off, do it. Everything there's time for. Procrastination, believe it or not, is the act of not doing something. It's still an action. Once you convert of inaction into an actual movement action, you will see the different results. Use the trilemminals the way I suggested to pick what you need for this issue. You can then model any other issue that you may have as well. And once you have the issues together, go through the trilemminals. Some people who have the Trilemminal 2.0 system have 70 different recordings, and they actually had so many issues that they ended up picking all 70 recordings. And that's what they do. They go through 70 recordings. Use 2, 1, whatever. Each day they pick from whatever's left over. Their intuition lets them pick what they need to listen to that day. And you just keep going over and over. Brushing your teeth, folks. This stuff is like brushing your teeth. You need to do it every day. At least a couple of times is best, but at least once. And you will see your teeth will be in much better shape. So will your brain. Okay. All right, Alicia, thank you so much for everything. Have a nice night. Sweet dreams, Morry. Well, that's nice comment. We've been at this for just over 90 minutes. I see there's no more questions or comments or concerns. I truly hope those have been here live for this have enjoyed this experience. For those of you that watch later on, I also hope that you enjoy this experience. I am here all the time. Okay, you can contact me through my website. If you have my email, you can email me. My phone number is on my website as well. I'm always available for you guys and girls. I love you all, I truly do, and I just want to be there for you. So thanks for joining me this month. Look for some new products this year. I've been doing a lot of work on some new things. There was a product that has been written up in a New York Times bestsellers book called The End of Alzheimer's that is as part of the protocol to help people stop the progression of and even help to reverse Alzheimer's. So I'll be coming out with a product directly related to that as well. And until then, I'm here for you all, and I'm happy to be here for you all. Have a sorry. Sometimes I get a little bit emotional. Have a wonderful night. And again, I appreciate you, and I'm here for you. All the best. Nighty night. Namaste.